this is not, it's just not normal, and it's not compatible with the norms of our democracy. And the sooner we wake up from this bad dream, the better.
So again, you talk about the peaceful transition of power, which actually did happen because Donald Trump did leave office.
Whoa, hold on. Let's rewind that back. Maybe I misheard. Okay, hold on. Let's give him a chance. So one thing that I've been noticing tremendously in the past, at least me paying attention like 4 years, is a lot of Republican commentators like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, you have the dude with the big ass forehead, like, individuals like those will continue to go to these, college campuses. They'll go to these town hall type, situations, and they're debating kids. You know what I'm saying? 19, 20-year-olds, individuals who are just, throughout their journey trying to figure out the political atmosphere. And even someone like myself, for the past 2 years, I've been really trying to dig a lot deeper than just the surface level. You know what I'm saying? So I would still consider myself fairly new when it comes to just anything political. So it's just kind of awkward to me, cowards like Ben Shapiro going to kids to try to score a quick W. You know what I'm saying? But when they go against someone who's on their level or even beyond, like a Destiny or Medi, they crumble. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have that same type of steam or that same kind of energy they have when they're producing their videos or when they're debating, kids. They don't bring that same type of attitude. And what we're going to watch is Sam Harris. Once again, I just got put onto him. I watched a few of his videos earlier today. Seems like he's pretty decent. I kind of got to, figure out some things for myself to really get an opinion on him. But, just with him talking to Ben Shapiro, which is how I found him, he's putting a whooping on him for 11 minutes straight. Like, Ben had no great rebuttal at any point, and I'm trying to be unbiased as possible. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to at least hear some sort of credible rebuttal at any point, and he fails to do that. But I guarantee you, if this is some college setting where, the whole crowd is going to cheer, even if Ben Shapiro says he doesn't care if, thousands of innocent people are dying, he doesn't have that in these kind of situations. So what does he do? He sounds like a complete idiot, So let's go ahead and, let's watch for ourselves.
You've asked me essentially whether I think Trump is Orange Hitler, right? And I never have, and I've never taken those concerns entirely seriously. But I would point out that the leading scholars of fascism at this point, people like Robert Paxton, use the term in application to Trump, and it's not an empty epithet, right? It's not the same thing as saying that Trump is the next Hitler figure or the next Putin figure, right? I think the difference is that Trump is not ideological. Trump is in the Trump business. Trump just wants wealth and fame, essentially, and he wants power in order to secure those things. But I think there are very few people who think he wants to create the 1,000-year Reich. He wants to build condos and play golf. Right. We're talking about a game show host.
And it's funny. Ben Shapiro's shaking his head vigorously. That's not a compliment. That's not something you should be proudly cheering on. The person you're voting for is all in all in it for himself. He would rather build a Trump Tower in Gaza, even if that means obliterating every Palestinian over there. That's literally what he's agreed upon with that crazy old lady. You know what I'm saying? That's nothing to be yeah, you're right. Stupid. That's what you are. Oh my goodness.
Right? Who got marketed for 12 years on television as a brilliant businessman, and half the country bought it. Right? And a quarter of the country has rallied to him like he's the Messiah, and another quarter is willing just to look the other way as he desecrates the most basic norms of our democracy. And the most important one, which he's desecrated, is not committing to a peaceful transfer of power. I mean, that is, from my point of view, the only thing you need to know about him to decide your vote in this election is that as a sitting president, he did not commit and would not commit and still hasn't committed, frankly, to a peaceful transfer of power. And we didn't have a peaceful transfer of power, right? And so that is, I mean, just again, to default to sane conservative Republican or erstwhile Republican principles, Ronald Reagan singled this feature of our democracy out as the key feature. I mean, it is the thing that made us the shining city on the hill, to use his terms.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that people living in shithole countries, to use Trump's terms, envy in us is this peaceful transfer of power. It is a political miracle. And Trump's campaign, his continued status in the Republican Party as their frontrunner, is just a continuous desecration of that principle. And so from my point of view, everything hinges on that. And no, I don't think assassination attempts are the right remedy for that. Voting against him is the right remedy for that. And the reason why things didn't normalize over the last 4 years is not because Joe Biden was so woke, or Kamala Harris is now a woke Manchurian candidate who will govern like a blue-haired activist from Barnard. No, it's that Trump is still in our politics, and we don't have a normal conservative party. I mean, this again, to come back to things that you and I agree about. You and I could spend 2 hours here running down the far left and agreeing about, just how bizarre the identitarian moral panic has been on the far left. But the problem with Trump and Trumpism is that it seems to justify all of that, right? It adds fuel to all of that. And the reason why the panic is justified, frankly, and again, it extends to Trump's former allies, right? It extends to his former running mate, Mike Pence. I mean, Mike Pence has said that the American people deserve to know that Donald Trump asked me to be loyal to him, to put my loyalty to him over my loyalty to the Constitution.
And I must add, if anyone in that Republican Party had balls, it was Mike Pence. Like I'm pretty sure he knew what danger he was putting himself in and even his family going against Trump. And just understanding that portion, just that part alone, you forget everything else, every crazy other thing that Trump has said, did, or wanted to do. Just knowing that simple fact right there should raise red flags for you. Why would a vice president fear his life if he goes against his own president? That alone could make a movie. That alone should be looked at and studied by a lot more smarter people than me, because to me, that point right there is like, we got a problem. And if we don't fix that problem, it's only going to continue, because if someone like Trump got into office acting and saying the crazy things he's been saying the past 8 years, can you imagine somebody who's a little bit more competent and actually has a plan and talking like Trump? Like, that would be, to me, in my honesty, like, that would be game over. Trump is a useful idiot tool, so maybe that would be to his own detriment, but I'm just worried that we're going to continue to normalize this, and it's only going to get worse.
Right. That is political plutonium, right? And we should and the Republican Party should recognize it as such. But what we have in the Republican Party is, as I said, a cult of personality and a loyalty test. And you have people like J.D. Vance and even Elon Musk bending the knee in this loyalty test in the most abject way, asserting that they believe the big lie that he really won or might have won the 2020 election. And it's just not normal, and it's not compatible with the norms of our democracy. And the sooner we wake up from this bad dream, the better.
So again, you talk about the peaceful transition of power, which actually did happen because Donald Trump did leave office.
Whoa, hold on. Let's rewind that back. Maybe I misheard. Okay, hold on. Let's give him a chance.
You talk about the peaceful transition of power, which actually did happen because Donald Trump did leave office.
A peaceful transfer of power did happen. I swear these individuals are so hyped up on drugs. Like there's no other explanation. Like, the money can't be that good. Okay, if somebody paid me $20 million a month, then maybe I could warp my brain on not believing some things. But how can you sit there with a straight face and say it was a peaceful transfer of power? He's still literally saying he didn't lose and he was cheated and he should have won. He's still 4 years later. Even when he won the election, he's saying that some parts of it was rigged because he should have won the popular votes, which he didn't. He got smoked on. And he was still complaining about that. So, Ben, shut up. We don't want to hear you. You are not contributing anything to the conversation. Just be quiet. Oh my God.
In January of 2021, and Joe Biden has been president mostly for the last 3.5 years, despite his mental ineptitude over the last.
You cannot call January 6th a peaceful transfer of power.
Well, that's not when the transfer of power happens. People don't leave office on January 6th. People leave office on January 20th.
If Mike Pence had obeyed him,
they were certifying the election. They were certifying the slates from the states. That's a process. Everything just doesn't happen one day and this boom, the ex-president is leaving the White House while the new president is coming in. It's not that simple. It's a process to this thing. In one of the processes, they tried to insurrect. People died. People got hurt. Damage was done to property. People were tried. Why? How? Do not do that. No. Quit. Okay?
We
would have had a genuine constitutional crisis.
I agree with you, which is, I think, that why Mike Pence did the right thing. And I think that what Donald Trump, the argument that Donald Trump was making between November and January was morally and legally specious. But with that said, there was a peaceful...
Specious. Morally and legally specious. Bro, just say it was wrong. For Mike Pence to have done something right means that someone has done something wrong. Who is that someone and what did he do wrong? And is that wrong something that we should be trying to handle? Or, it's too late. We had, 2 years to try to nip that in the bud. And unfortunately, just with the speed of, social media and conversations, we haven't figured that out. So my fear is that if he loses again, it's only going to happen again or even worse. Thank God he's not in power, but we need to stop trying to pretend like it was just another day in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? No.
Transition of power.
But right now on the campaign trail, when Donald Trump is asked, and he was on Joe Rogan a few days ago, about the 2020 election, he still claims that he won the election. What do you make of that?
I obviously disagree with him. I don't think that he won the 2020 election. Also, this is part and parcel. I wish it weren't, but it is part and parcel of a reactionary divide that has plagued our politics since before Donald Trump, frankly. When Donald Trump won the election in 2016, we then spent 3.5 years of people claiming that Donald Trump was a Russian plant and had been bootstrapped into office by the Russians manipulating Facebook. This sort of election denialism is not, it is ugly. It is bad on both sides. I won't even say.
And oh boy, he gonna speak to it, but man, this has been the biggest talking point of any Republican. Well, blah, 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 both sides. Yap, both sides. No. And I gotta admit, I used to be someone that said Republicans and Democrats are both bad. They're both, two evils on the same coin. Like, but then once you start, especially, just the craziness of Trump, like Trump is leading the charge on what's evil. Like Democrats don't have to do anything at this point because the Republicans are going so far down the hole. Like you can't in good faith say both parties are now the same or it's both crazy on both sides. No, because one is just leading the race, obviously by miles. So we can't use that terminology no more because it's clear. And the Republican Party is doing that on purpose, not on accident. They're going down this hole on purpose, full throttle. So you're missing me with the whole both sides thing. Don't do that. It doesn't work in this conversation no more.
Say that
it
what
doesn't
Democrats
exist on both sides.
That's not true. I mean, it's not. If Donald Trump wins this election, I promise you will see election denialism on the left. That is incredibly similar to what you've seen from Donald Trump.
I wanted to ask you that, and this is a question for you. I'm not going to filibuster, Ben. I just want to ask you, if on election day we have a clear result, right? So there's a landslide in the swing states, and someone really wins, right? If I told you that the losing candidate denied the results of the election and simply would not accept a loss, and even appealed to their most fanatical supporters to come into the streets and just obviously provoked violence on the part of the mob, right? And said, and when asked, what about the Constitution? This candidate said, to hell with the Constitution. We don't have a country anymore. Which candidate am I conceivably talking about?
Well, I mean, I think that, given Trump's rhetoric in 2020, obviously what you're talking about is Donald Trump. I don't think that's how it'd be phrased by Kamala Harris.
Wow. I mean, even that admission alone, that should bring some pause. Like, yeah, like not even close. Any Democratic, like, senator, like someone in an actual position of power, not some Looney Tunes off of Twitter or Facebook. I ain't talking about those weirdos. I'm talking about someone who can actually try to F up some things if they wanted to. You're not going to hear that from an AOC, from an Ilhan Omar or Bernie Sanders, Nancy Pelosi. You're not going to hear that from them. You're probably going to hear some, he's not fit to be president or he shouldn't have been president or whatever stupid thing that they want to say. But they're not going to say he rigged the election and he did not win. Kamala Harris won. Like, you're not going to hear that.
I think that the way that we phrased by Kamala Harris is more subtly.
That Kamala Harris, if she loses in a landslide, you think there's a chance that she will not accept the results of the election?
Forget about a landslide. How about a close election?
Into the streets?
How about a close election? How about a close election? Forget about a landslide because a landslide is...
The landslide just makes it perfectly clear. I just want...
Yeah. What he's trying to... Ben, you know this. You're smarter than me, okay? So if I understand his question and his premise on what he's trying to explain to you, I'm pretty sure you understand. He's talking about even in a landslide victory for Kamala Harris, he still is going to deny it. He's still going to say it was rigged. He's just going to say it was rigged by bigger numbers. So if he's going to say he lost, even if it's a landslide victory, what makes you think he won't complain about it even if it's close? But that's the point. That is the point. He's going to deny it regardless. Like, if something happened to Trump to where he can't run for president, he will still say that he ran or that he won. Jesus Christ, man.
I'm telling you that...
Why the necessity for that sort of clarity in an election that's 50-50? Why not actually pick a plausible scenario? The most plausible scenario is that she loses in a very tight election.
It's all too
and then
plausible.
she says there's been voter suppression, and then she suggests...
It's all too plausible. Ben, it's all too plausible because currently the chance that there will be a landslide in the swing states is about 40%, even though we're at 50-50 between the two candidates. According to Nate Silver, there's a 40% chance that one of them runs the table in the swing states, right? So it's
for sure that would be an electoral college landslide. We're not talking about a popular vote landslide in any case.
No, right. But, so I'm talking about a clear result, right? Where no allegations of fraud are plausible.
Okay, so the most obvious sort of rhetoric that would be used along those lines would be Trump's. And then the rhetoric that would be used on the other side if Trump wins would be that Trump has corrupted the system. The system has been so corrupted that people weren't able to vote properly in places like Georgia, which has been the claim that there was Jim Crow 2.0 in Georgia for years. There would be claims that Donald Trump was paid off by the billionaires, that there was foreign interference in the election. There would be all of these claims, right, and they would float around. Donald Trump
a really good claim is Elon Musk paying people millions of dollars or $1 million to sign a petition. As long as you're registered to vote, then you can possibly win that money. So, I mean, even some legal scholars, obviously smarter than me, has said that that's breaking rules. Let Kamala Harris do anything even close to that, it would be World War III automatically. You know what I'm saying? So, like, let's not sit here and pretend that, once again, it's going to be just as crazy on the Democratic side, like it's going to be regardless of how big of a victory it might be on Republican side. Come on, Ben. Let's do a little better than that.
This is my original claim, Sam, is that Donald Trump is very obvious in his excesses. Democrats and the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris are much more subtle in their excesses. But those excesses are no less dangerous for being more subtle. In fact, in some ways, I think they are more dangerous for being more subtle.
And it's weird. And once again, I apologize for just pausing, but I mean, I gotta get this off my chest. All right. If I don't get this off my chest, I'm not going to sleep well tonight. I'm just going to have dreams of me chasing Ben Shapiro down just a tunnel, a forever, just never ending tunnel. And I'm going to be trying to be chasing him down. All right. He knows he can't argue on Trump's stupidness and his crazy rhetoric. So what's the best thing that he can do? Bring the Democratic Party down to his level and say, look they're both the same. So if you're saying Trump is an issue in a issue to democracy, well, look at the Democratic Party. They're just as crazy. But we know that's not reality, but that's the only way he can bring this conversation back on a leveling meter here, because if it's just based on reality, you can't defend the Republican and Trump's and their craziness. You can't do it. You sound like you didn't go to college. You didn't go to high school. That's the kind of argument those kind of people make. But Ben, obviously, smart guy, but he knows he's not going to win that conversation.
And you can't use a phrase like no less dangerous. Hillary Clinton conceded in 24 hours. Mm-hmm. That is less dangerous than this continuous provocation.
Sam, I just disagree with you. I disagree with you. I think that the attempt by members of the media, by Hillary Clinton, who herself said that Donald Trump was illegitimately elected based on Russian interference in the 2016 election, was highly damaging.
How long did she say that for? How long did she say that for? Does she still say that?
I mean, she will, yes, actually, she will still claim openly that there was manipulation that took place that is true, that there was manipulation during the 2016 election.
She says the sane thing to say is that there is continuous foreign interference in our elections, right?
But that's always been the case.
That's the double standard, Sam. Now you're proposing a double standard.
When
Hillary says it, it's totally subtle and fine. And when Trump says it in the most obvious, foolish way, then it's totally different.
Sam, go ahead.
Come on, Ben. All right. What Hillary would be saying, and honestly, I don't even know anyone who is asking for Hillary to speak or like purposely trying to find her to get her 2 cents. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe, that's for other folks, but I really don't care what she says today for sure. But one thing that is factual and that a lot of Democrats would be saying is that there is, outside interference with our elections, way before Trump. So that's factual, but what Trump is claiming that literally the Democratic Party and other institutions are stealing the election from him. Those are 2 different arguments here. And one of those whack arguments have no legs to stand on. There's no proof. So those are 2 different arguments here. Come on now.
You're just missing the relevant details here.
That's a nice way for saying, like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're missing the relevant details. I'm going to start using that one.
One thinks that there is continuous foreign interference in our elections. Very few people at this point think that it has been decisive and that it was decisive in 2016. I mean, the problem in 2016, it was a much bigger problem, that the internal division was real, and that whatever Russia tried to do on Facebook was amplifying very real divisions that exist in our society, which we should worry about. But I'm not in contact with any Democrats, and I talked to a lot of them at this point, who have burned any fuel over even weeks, much less months or years, worrying that Trump's first term was totally illegitimate because the election was hacked and I mean, what really happened, I mean, there were things that seemed decisive that one could regret, like Comey opening the email investigation 10 days before the election and that functioning effectively as a kind of October surprise, right? I mean, nothing came of it, but it seemed decisive in terms of her poll results in those last weeks. But I mean, her loss was overdetermined, and most sane Democrats recognize that. What you do not have in the Democratic Party is a cult of personality around anyone and a series of loyalty tests. I mean, again, we're so far from the actual ground truth here. I mean, the ground truth is that we know at this point that there were Republicans in Congress, right, who would have voted to impeach Trump after January 6th, but they didn't because they were afraid for their lives. They were afraid that someone in the MAGA cult would come and kill them or members of their families, right? We know this from Mitt Romney, and we know it from Liz Cheney, too.